Hello, everyone. Today's story is interesting, but if you find it compelling, please consider subscribing. The channel's been quiet lately, and your support keeps it going. Let's get into it. I recorded my girlfriend exiting another man's bedroom and sent the footage to her devout Catholic parents. As a result, her father has disowned her, and her mentor has lost his job. I've been dating my girlfriend, Sarah, 24, for about a year and a half. We've shared an apartment for the past 6 months, and things have generally been great. But lately, something has been eating at me, and I'm unsure if I'm being reasonable or just paranoid. Sarah works as a junior analyst at a consulting firm. 2 months ago, she started mentioning a coworker, Mark, 28, who graduated from the same graduate program as her a few years earlier. Sarah said Mark was helping her understand complex client projects and offered to tutor her for an upcoming certification exam that could lead to a promotion. Initially, I was thrilled for her. Sarah works hard and deserves the opportunity. The issue is that these study sessions always take place at Mark's apartment, starting around 7 or 8 p.m., with Sarah not returning home until 1 to 3 a.m. When I asked why they couldn't study at our place or the office, Sarah explained that Mark's apartment was more convenient because he had all the study materials there, and it was quieter than the office. This has been troubling me. Sarah turns off her phone or doesn't reply to my texts during these sessions, claiming they're so focused that she doesn't notice. Normally, she's quick to respond to messages. When she comes home, she often smells of alcohol. When I bring it up, she says Mark sometimes offers her a glass of wine to unwind during their study sessions, though she's never been much of a drinker before. These sessions happen 2 to 3 times a week and have been going on for about 6 weeks. Last week, I offered to bring them dinner since they were studying so late. Sarah got defensive, saying it would disrupt their focus. When I expressed my discomfort with the situation, she accused me of not trusting her and being insecure. What bothers me most is that Sarah has other co-workers, including women in her department, who are also preparing for the same certification. When I suggested studying with them, she said Mark was the only one who had passed the exam and knew the material well enough to guide her. Last night was the breaking point. Sarah left for a study session at 7 p.m. I texted her at 10 p.m. to ask when she'd be home, but got no response. I called at 11:30 p.m., and it went straight to voicemail. She finally returned at 2:45 a.m., visibly intoxicated. When I expressed concern, she called me controlling and possessive. This morning, I told her I wasn't comfortable with these late-night sessions at Mark's apartment and asked if we could find another arrangement. Sarah yelled at me, saying I didn't trust her, that Mark was only helping her career, and that I was sabotaging her success out of insecurity. I want to be clear. I'm not trying to control who Sarah spends time with or hinder her career. But coming home after 2 a.m., smelling of alcohol, after being unreachable during regular study sessions with a male coworker doesn't feel right. I don't think I'm asking for much by wanting better communication or a different study setup. Sarah is now giving me the silent treatment and texted her sister, claiming I'm toxic and controlling. Her sister called me a jerk and told me to either trust Sarah or end the relationship. So, am I wrong for asking my girlfriend to stop these late-night study sessions at her coworker's apartment? Are my concerns valid, or am I being unreasonable? Sarah and I usually have a great relationship, and this is our first major conflict. I don't have a history of jealousy or controlling behavior. The certification exam is 3 months away. Despite Sarah frequently mentioning Mark, she hasn't introduced me to him. When I suggested meeting him, she said it would be difficult to mix work and personal life. I've been married for 12 years, and I can tell you that study sessions until 2 a.m. with alcohol involved aren't study sessions. Her turning off her phone and getting defensive when you ask reasonable questions is a huge red flag. You're not controlling for setting boundaries about your girlfriend spending late nights with another man, drunk and unreachable. Thanks for this. I've been doubting myself because Sarah is usually reasonable, and her strong reaction threw me off. It's reassuring to hear my concerns aren't baseless, that I work in consulting. There's no reason these sessions need to happen at his apartment until 2 a.m. Most certification prep can be done during regular hours, and if they're really studying, they should be sober and focused. The frequent drinking tells you everything. A coworker genuinely helping would be open to including you or meeting in a neutral place. This context is helpful. Sarah made it sound like this was normal in her field, but it never sat right with me. The biggest issue is her phone being off. What if there's an emergency? No study session is so important that you're unavailable for 6 hours. That's exactly what I told her. What if her parents or I needed to reach her? She said I was being dramatic. I'm a woman in consulting who's earned similar certifications. I've never had to study at a male colleague's place until 2 a.m. with alcohol. There's study groups, online resources, and review courses. She's not following standard protocol. Thanks for this perspective. It's valuable to hear from someone in the field who's been through this. Have you met Mark? Has Sarah offered to introduce you? Does she talk openly about these sessions or seems secretive? I haven't met Mark. Sarah said mixing work and personal life would be awkward. She talks about him a lot, but gets evasive when I ask specifics about what they study, usually brushing it off as work stuff before changing. I decided to have a calm, honest conversation with Sarah. I waited until she was in a good mood last night and approached the topic gently. I explained that I'd been reflecting on our argument and wanted to understand her perspective. At first, she seemed open. I asked why the sessions had to be at Mark's apartment and why they couldn't meet during regular hours or in public. Her answers were the same. Mark has all the resources, his place is quiet, and evenings work best for focus. When I asked about the drinking, she admitted they usually share a bottle of wine, but said it helps her relax and retain information. When I said it felt more social than academic, she got defensive, accusing me of overanalyzing. When I asked if I could meet Mark, things escalated. Sarah snapped that it would be unprofessional to introduce her boyfriend to a coworker. I pointed out that she'd introduced me to other coworkers at company events, but she said Mark was different because they have a professional mentorship that shouldn't mix with personal life. I stayed calm and suggested alternatives like studying at our place or me picking her up so she wouldn't drive tipsy. She called me controlling and said I was trying to sabotage her career. She ended the conversation by saying if I couldn't trust her, we shouldn't be together. She insisted Mark is just a friend helping her professionally, and she won't sacrifice her career for my jealousy. But here's where things get wild. This morning, I ran into Sarah's friend Emily near our apartment. Emily and Sarah have been close since college and work at the same firm, but in different departments. Emily asked how I was and mentioned hearing about our relationship issues. I didn't want to dive into details, but she brought up the certification exam, saying she was considering studying for it too, and asked if Sarah would let her join the study group with Mark. Confused, I asked what she meant. Emily thought it was a group thing, which is why she hadn't been invited. When I clarified that it was just Sarah and Mark at his apartment, Emily was shocked. This led to a longer conversation where I learned some disturbing details. Emily and 2 other female coworkers are also studying for the same certification, but none of them have been invited to study with Mark, despite his reputation as an expert. Emily had asked Sarah weeks ago about forming a study group, but Sarah said she had it handled. According to Emily, Mark isn't the only senior colleague who's passed this exam and could help. Emily found it odd that Sarah wouldn't want to study with others, as group study is typically more effective. After this, I'm even more convinced something's off. If these were just study sessions, why wouldn't Sarah include her coworkers? Tonight, I confronted Sarah about it. I mentioned running into Emily and learning that she and others were studying for the same exam. I suggested Sarah invite them to join her sessions with Mark. Sarah exploded, saying I had no right to discuss our relationship with her friends and that I was trying to ruin her study plans. When I said group study could be more effective, she claimed Mark's teaching style was tailored to her and others would be a distraction. I asked directly, if this is just about studying, why can't Emily or others join sometimes? She accused me of interrogating her and said she didn't need to justify her study methods. She ended the conversation by saying she'd be at Mark's tomorrow night as planned, and if I couldn't handle it, I should figure out what to do. She's now sleeping in the guest room and refusing to talk. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Sarah's explanations make sense on paper, but her behavior and reactions don't align with someone just studying with a coworker. Her refusal to include others, let me meet Mark, or answer questions makes me think something else is happening, that I'm considering showing up at Mark's apartment, as some of you suggested. but I don't want to be the guy who doesn't trust his girlfriend. At the same time, I feel betrayed. How would you handle this? Everything you said about our conversation is accurate. Sarah's behavior concerns me because it's not typical in our industry. Several of us have questioned why she wouldn't want study partners when we're all aiming for the same certification. Keeping this so separate from her other friendships is a huge red flag. You're not crazy. Opie's reply, wow. Emily, I can't believe you found this and commented. Thank you for backing me up. I feel like I'm going insane. Comment, dude, go to Mark's apartment next time she's there. You'll get your answer fast. If they're studying, they'll be at a table with books and notes. If not, you'll know. Opie's reply, I've thought about it, but I'm worried about crossing a line. What if I'm wrong and look like a crazy boyfriend? Comment, Emily's confirmation changes everything. This isn't about your insecurity anymore. You have objective evidence that Sarah's behavior is odd and secretive. Trust your gut. Opie's reply, that's how I feel. Emily's perspective confirmed this isn't normal workplace behavior. Comment, the fact that she's sleeping in the guest room and giving you the silent treatment for asking reasonable questions speaks volumes. Honest people don't react defensively to legitimate concerns from their partners. Opie's reply, you're right. If I were in her shoes and my concerns were baseless, I want to reassure her, not punish her for asking. After talking to Emily and seeing Sarah's increasingly defensive behavior, I decided I needed the truth, no matter the outcome. I know some of you suggested showing up at Mark's place. And while I was worried about looking like a paranoid boyfriend, I realized our relationship already lacked trust and communication. Sarah left for a study session last night at 7 p.m. She kissed me goodbye, but it felt forced. I waited an hour, then drove to Mark's apartment complex, saying I was bringing coffee and snacks since they were working hard. I knew Mark's address because Sarah had mentioned his building before, and I found his apartment number in the directory. When I got to his door around 8:30 p.m., I heard music, not the focused silence you'd expect from studying. I knocked and waited It took about 3 minutes for someone to answer, which felt odd for people supposedly studying at a table. Mark opened the door, looking flustered, dressed in a t-shirt and sweatpants with messy hair. He clearly wasn't expecting me. Oh, hi, he said. You must be Sarah's boyfriend. We're just wrapping up. From over his shoulder, I saw no books or study materials. Just an open bottle of wine on the coffee table and a romantic comedy paused on Netflix. I asked, can I come in for a minute? Mark looked nervous. Actually, it's not a good time. Sarah's in the bathroom, and we're about to finish. Then I heard Sarah's voice from deeper in the apartment, asking, who is it? In a tone that didn't sound like someone studying. I pushed past Mark and entered. The apartment was small, so it took seconds to see what was happening. Sarah came out of Mark's bedroom, wearing only his button-down shirt, her hair messy with that post-intimate look I recognized from our relationship. For a moment, we all stood in silence. Sarah's face went from confused to panicked as she realized what was happening. This isn't what it looks like, she started, but what else could it be? I pulled out my phone and started recording. So this is studying? I asked, can you explain how this is certification prep? Sarah yelled, don't you dare record this, but she was too far to stop me, and I didn't care about her comfort anymore. Mark tried to block my phone. Dude, come on, don't be that guy. I laughed. I'm not the guy, asshole. My girlfriend's pretending this is a study session. I recorded about 30 seconds, clearly showing Sarah in Mark's shirt, coming out of his bedroom, in an apartment with no study materials and obvious signs of intimacy. Get out, Sarah screamed. You have no right to be here. I have no right. I asked. I bring coffee to my girlfriend's study session and find her half naked in another man's bedroom. But I'm the one with no right? Mark, to his credit, looked genuinely uncomfortable. Look, man, I'm sorry. This got out of hand. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Shut up, Mark, Sarah snapped. I looked at Sarah, clutching a throw blanket from the couch. How long? I asked. It doesn't matter, she said. You weren't supposed to be here. You can't just show up uninvited. How fucking long, Sarah? Mark quietly said, about a month. We need to talk, Sarah said. But not here. Come home, and we'll discuss this like adults. No, I said. We're done talking. We're done. You can get your stuff tomorrow when I'm at work. Sarah yelled after me as I left, saying I was making a huge mistake and ruining everything over nothing. When I got home, I was in shock. I'd hoped I'd show up, see them studying, and feel like an idiot, but still have a relationship. I sat in my car in our driveway for maybe 20 minutes, processing what happened. Then I got angry. That's when I made a choice I'm not entirely proud of, but don't fully regret either. Sarah comes from a deeply religious Catholic family. Her parents and 3 siblings are very active in their church and have traditional views on relationships. They've always seen Sarah as the perfect daughter and welcomed me like family. I sent the video to her parents and siblings with a message explaining that Sarah had been lying about studying with a coworker for months. And when I checked on her, I found her with him in his bedroom. I expressed my hurt and betrayal, saying they deserved to know the truth about the relationship they'd supported. Within an hour, my phone exploded. Sarah's mom called, sobbing, asking if the video was real. Her dad called, furious, demanding to know what kind of man I was for humiliating his daughter. Then her siblings started calling. Finally, Sarah called, hysterical. "How could you do this to me?" she screamed. "You've destroyed my relationship with my family. My dad's talking about cutting me off financially. You ruined your family relationships when you chose to cheat," I said. I just made sure they knew the truth. She called it revenge, cruel and vindictive, accusing me of trying to destroy her life. "You destroyed our life when you started sleeping with Mark a month ago," I replied. "You destroyed it by lying to me every day and making me think I was crazy for having normal concerns." Sarah tried to convince me to delete the video, as if that were possible. She offered to end things with Mark and go to counseling, saying she'd do anything to fix this. But even if she hadn't cheated, our relationship was already over. The trust was gone. Sarah came by this morning while I was at work to collect her things. My neighbor texted me that she showed up with Mark, bold as hell, and 2 friends quickly loading a U-Haul. She left her key on the counter with a note. "I hope you're happy. You've ruined my family relationships and humiliated me in the worst way possible. What you did was worse than anything I did. Honestly, it was worth it." Emily texted me today, saying she's proud of me for standing up for myself and that people at Sarah's workplace know what happened. Apparently, Mark is married, which I didn't know, but his wife found out about the affair, leading to more consequences than I expected. If you're going to cheat, you can't control how far the fallout spreads. Thank you for watching my story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Stay tuned for more real-life stories, get more experiences. Your support and insights helped me realize I wasn't being unreasonable and gave me the courage to trust my gut.